Yeah. I think this is too short.
Nice.
Are we good on camera? Hello, everybody. Sorry, we're kind of angled this way because of cameras, but because this is live streamed. So, all right. Borko, you ready?
Yeah.
So, just a couple house rules, right? This is live stream, so at 6 it goes because it's all set to go on LinkedIn and YouTube, so you can share with your friends. We're gonna start with Borko first, kind of recap a few things, and then we're gonna have Walter come up. So we'll just say, "Hey, Walter, come up," and then we're gonna wrap with Walter. Try to give people a chance to ask questions, and then not go too long, so we end it and people can hang out around the bar and chill out. Right? That's the idea. Then you guys tell us when it's ready.
2 more minutes, right?
Now you guys can see
Ready?
we're actually real people. That the YouTube thing is not AI. Yeah. Look at that. Look at Heist getting his 2 beers. Yeah. You guys sit wherever. Yeah. And people need to get a drink, right? Like we'll figure it out. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Put your water. What is it?
Water.
Oh, straight vodka. Nice.
Yeah. It's a gin. I'm a gin person.
All right. Tell us when you're ready. Got to get the camera straight.
Can tell everyone if they want to walk to go.
Yeah, I will leave the door. This door's open, and you can still go out and come around to get a drink, and then go back. There's plenty of alcohol, so don't be shy about it. And this is not an on. Oh, Raz gives the thumbs up.
yeah.
Okay, everybody.
Okay.
To those online, if there's anybody, we don't know. Welcome to the Generalists 50th episode.
Raz.
Hey, Raz.
Hey, Michael.
Welcome back to the
Welcome
studio.
And we have an audience today. You
Guess
forgot
number one.
Yeah, the audience is over here. You guys
Yeah.
can't see it on the camera.
Just,
Hello, audience. It's a full house in case people can't see. We got people over here. Over here is Borko. Yeah. Let me just kick this off. So when I was in downtime between one of my gigs, moving to another gig, and in full disclosure, I'm an investor in Podster, and Borko and I had worked together. I was kind of going through what I would call a midlife crisis, even though I'm probably past midlife.
It wasn't
And
crisis.
It wasn't a
man. I saw
crisis.
you.
It was
wasn't a
desperation,
crisis.
maybe. Trying to figure out, I actually went to like ICF coaching school. I had a bunch of ideas for being a consultant.
You met me.
None of it
You
panned
met
out. I
me.
met him on coffee. He LinkedIn stalked me. And then I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast. Like, let's do it. And then I kind of had this idea of I don't want to do it alone. And I think it was on the first or second coffee with him. I'm like, oh, by the way, there's this Podster thing coming. I'm going to do a podcast. Do you want to join me?
And I said no.
Yeah, you did
No.
not.
I said yes.
First date.
Yeah, and not a lot of preparation, to be honest with you. And then I kind of told him this theory I have about generalism, which everybody looks at me funny when I talk about it. And I read the book The Range from Epstein, and then I kind of said, Raz, you're a generalist. You probably just don't think of yourself as that one. Then what happened?
I never thought about it as a generalist, but going back to my life, like my first business was actually in the alcohol business, but I merged it together with technology, and then I've been in cybersecurity, and then did other stuff. So I told Michael, hey, I'm a generalist. Let's do that.
Yeah, so then that's why we call it the generalist. And the idea is that we think a lot of people in running a business, being an executive, being a founder, VCs, you kind of are a generalist, right? Because you're having to do all these things, and maybe you don't label yourself as one. So that's why it's called the generalist. And it also feels it gives us a lot of range in talking to different people and different things. But we kind of have honed in that we think it's a strategy for life, right? This idea of generalism. And that's what we keep trying to double down on, getting better at talking to people about. That leads us to episode 1, where, of course, when we started only filming in the studio from day one, that was one of our quality goals. We also we got to talk to Borko as like the very first episode, because he's, in my opinion, has enabled the Singapore ecosystem around podcasting. And I think hats off to Borko and team for doing that. I think you probably don't want to take credit for it, but I think you should.
You can.
If people were at like the Diary of CEO event last week, which is a big name, Podster was there covering all the events. And, I've even messaged the guy who started one of the new things on Steven, and he goes, "Oh, the Podster crew, I know them." Like, you've put us all on the map. And I think that's super important. So we just kind of want to revisit. It's been a year and what since Podster opened? Year and a half.
Yeah, since Singapore.
How's it going?
First, thanks for coming. And I'm as a host. I mean, he's the host of the podcast. I'm the host of the space. So I really want to thank you for taking your time to come. And it's been a year and a half now since Singapore opened, and you were here when this was a.
I remember when
construction
it was
site.
a dirty construction site. We were all panicking of whether you'd get it open in time, right?
We couldn't have a coffee. We went to the coffee shop.
Yeah,
outside.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I back then, I think because I left corporate, like I was 2 decades in a corporate, and then suddenly I find myself in a construction site and trying to, like, that sign over there, Podster, one of the live wires went down when cement was fresh, and then it shut down the whole floor. So there was a lot of
I heard a lot of expletives when I was here in the room.
a lot of war stories from that time. But now looking back, like a year and a half since we'd done that episode, it was April last year, I think, almost a year and a half. I feel an immense sense of pride for what this ecosystem and everyone around, not just Podster, but I've seen people consider becoming a creator, part-time, full-time, doesn't matter, just because they saw others do it. And I think that's the power of not the room with 3 cameras. We were never about, let's set up room with 3 cameras. There's a lot of other places or a lot of crews which can set up cameras in your your living room and your office. But the reason why Podster is why I love this so much and why I think this is powerful is because it enables the ecosystem, and at the end of the day, it enabled you guys to also bring people here and spend time with them before and after the shoots and talk about what you're doing. And then people saw you. And now, no matter how much you think you're big or not big, but people refer to you as well. Like, hey, these guys recorded Podster and I want to start. And what did they do? And then other names like Keith Yap and Keith Power and like all these people who are coming here, and Nicole Lee, and like is so many people who have started and who are just like chugging along. And then on the back of that, you see corporates like, oh, we want to do a podcast. Like, where do we start? And then we talk to corporates about this. So I think you're right in many ways. It did elevate the mindset and the thinking about creating content, especially long form podcasting, but also different forms of interviews and so on. And I think that's probably what I feel I'm proud the most.
So let's go back a bit with learnings, because when you do good things, and it's fun to have successful stories.
You asked me that in the first episode, and when I said it's all crap and I'm tired and it was hard, you're like, but there's got to be something good.
So what did you learn since the first episode? Let's get to the chase.
Yeah. Well, the first couple of months was I recently did a LinkedIn post and people ping me and like, was this really like that? Like, first month
Yes.
we had like 2-3 bookings. Like, first week we opened, there was no one here. Like, and then one lady came in shy, booked 1 session, and the whole first month was 18 shoots total. Last Friday, Token 2049, 18 in 1 day.
Wow.
And what I think the biggest learning here was, I think we now look at Dubai, which started before Singapore. Like, we started Dubai maybe a year and a half or just a year and a couple of months before Singapore. It's a different market. Every market has its own things, right? So Dubai operates in one way, more content creators. Singapore is more corporate, a lot more content creators who are first business owners or first founders and then second content creator. So my biggest learning here is ecosystem and building the this word of mouth. Like, ads work less in Singapore than in Dubai. In Dubai, ads work and people book themselves in, and we'll get to our software stack later on. But in Dubai, people would find an ad, go there, see the the open booking, book directly, show up. That's it. In Singapore, come see the space, do a tour, come back again with 3 more people, take photos, come back again with 5 more people. So But once people set on their path, then the retention rate very high, and that enabled us to build probably the stickiest and one of the strongest communities I've seen, where people generally bring others in. When Anusha knows this, when I said should we replace, I floated the idea of having a barista, even though we don't have money for a barista, but just don't blame me for trying. And she said, no. When people come here, they want to make coffee for their guests, and they come there and they show them the space and they do a tour. And she's like, I'm the host, but actually I don't do the tour because the hosts come in, and like Nicole has done many more tours than I have. So people come in, it's like, let me show you the space. Like, this is room 1, this is called Iris, this is like, and that's the power of what I've learned is like what keeps this place alive, and what I hope, like, it's not really replicable. It's hard to make 50 of these, right? But I think that's what keeping Podster strong, and that's why I have absolutely, like Scott Galloway says, podcasting is, the future is so bright that you got to wear shades. And it's not just for podcasting. I think this space and this concept has so much potential that you got to wear shades.
Yeah, and I think if whether or not you're a fan of Stephen Bartlett, right? The fact that he, we should ask this because you guys got to host him and stuff. I think he sold out his Star Vista. My understanding, he sold out all of the things that were done, right? And I think it's his first time coming here and doing that. We know some other ones are planning to come next year. I think Modern Wisdom supposedly is coming. Like, tell us about that, and like how you guys manage that, and what that's kind of done for you notoriety wise, because that's to me that just kind of exploded everything.
When I left corporate, I made a promise to myself to not go and chase people anymore to buy stuff from me, because I hate that, like chasing people and begging them to buy so I can meet my quota. And when we started Podster, I was always like, if people see value, they'll come. Like, of course, it was slower than I expected, and we do end up, following up with people. But on the back, like Stephen Bartlett, no one chased him. No one went in and say, hey, Stephen, we are Podster. You mind coming to us? And absolutely not. Like, we knew he was coming, but, so what? What happened is people who come here and who record here and who are fans of Podster, they pulled us in and they said, hey, Rachel Lim, founder of Love Bonito, she was like, hey, I'm doing this. You guys want to partner with me on Closer, her brand. Elston Sam, you know him, like he came in and said, listen, I'm doing this with Vanta and Aspire and these other few folks. You want to come in? I really like you guys and you're the best. So we got pulled in by the ecosystem. We didn't chase Steven. And then there was this funny scene in AWS when one of these events, when there was a question from, Keith was asking the question and said, Steven, I have a question for you. I'm just starting, I'm growing, and what should I do to make my podcast better? And Steven said, okay, before I go and answer your question, I hope you're doing video, because if you're not doing video, like you're not gonna make it far, you gotta do video. And Keith was so, like that answer was so genuine. He's like, but I am doing video. I'm recording. I'm using Podster. Like he was totally shocked.
Steven,
and
what's Podster?
And Steven was like, what's Podster? And then the whole room started laughing, like literally. Because when I came before him, when I came on stage, I was like, hey, everyone, who knows what Podster is? Yeah. Half of the room. Yay. Yeah. And I think that's the power of us being in a position to work with all these names, not because they're going to make a huge difference. Like I told you, one of the biggest realizations for me was I had, who's familiar with All In podcast? All In podcast, really big. So we had Jason Calacanis here. He was here recording an episode with Balaji. And everyone's like, dude, Calacanis. And he took a photo at the Podster wall. And they're like, you got to go big.
Yeah, I was irritated that you didn't invite me. Yeah.
And I was like,
me too.
So then Martin Sorrell, the founder of WPP, and like a bunch of these other folks. And they're like, you got to feel pumped. And I was like, dude, tomorrow morning, I got to wake up at 8 and send invoices. And I got to get the cleaner in. And like, I don't really care about the big names. I mean, they are contributing to what we do and they're helpful. But it's not going to make a huge difference. And what it will make a difference, and that's why I'm happy, is it's building the ecosystem and it's building credibility for the whole community. To your point, if in Q1 next year, Chris Williamson come and some other guy and the fifth guy and all these people come, the whole ecosystem grows, and that's why, you know me, like tide goes up, all boats
Yeah.
go up. So I'm not competing with studios. I'm not, you know, competing with agencies. Whoever sees value, they're welcome. Yeah.
So for me, takeaway, if you want to build a business, your CAC, your customer acquisition cost, gonna be community. Because if you rely on community, it's gonna lower your cost. They're gonna bring customers. Don't spend your money on advertising. Not gonna work. A good takeaway.
If you know that this one, if you build a community, you won't become a commodity. So yeah, I mean, you won't be undercutting others, and you immediately. There's a reason why every month we run a masterclass here, the podcasting masterclass, 2 hours. You've been guests on one of the
Yes.
where we bring in people who have started,
Guilty.
and we don't bring like a Stephen Bartlett, because people see Stephen Bartlett as like, yeah, okay, different league, right? So we bring in people who have started
Amateurs, you bring in the
recently.
amateurs.
Yeah, and well, not the amateurs. We bring people who have started and who are showing progress. And then master classes, the reason why we run it, by the way, from master classes every month, out of 30 people, maybe one comes and records at Podster. So ROI-wise, not great. But what it helps with is it builds up the credibility of the brand, and it grows the market. I don't care if you record at home or you record somewhere else, or you tell your neighbor or you tell your coworker that there is this thing, Podster, and podcasting is important and you should do podcasting. That's the power, and that's why community, either through education and learning, either through Pod Club over there. So if any of you are interested in creating content, this is a plug. Like you should scan the QR code and join Pod Club. It's a free community that we support in Dubai. There's 600 people, in Singapore 200 people. We invest a lot of effort in the community building. And if you want to, you know, just learn about creating content, join.
So let's talk a little bit, because and then when we talk to Walter, there's this building things from Singapore, right? And
Yeah.
I think in the studio, you're building in Singapore for Singapore, but you guys have moved into another area that I think is exciting. And let's talk about that in next week a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, yeah, I know.
Your shirt. You can open your shirt.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when we started Podster, we realized that, yeah, the power is in the community and what you can do locally. And obviously, there's a lot of, like when people ask me, how do you scale and run 15 studios and what's the success of running this, is not, you know, 3 cameras in a room. And of course, you need to have great people. I'm very thankful all the folks at Podster here, rock stars. If people give us 5-star reviews on Google, they always mention the team and the effort the team's making. So that's a big.
Because they are awesome.
Because they're awesome. Yeah, I mean,
That's it.
One other thing that's also awesome, but is extremely boring, SOPs and, you know, doing things with a certain standard. So both me and my co-founder, we're like brutally obsessed with SOPs. If it's not somewhere written in an SOP, you don't have a business. If it's in your head and it depends on you being there, it's not a business. And the way we scale is like, in the room, everything is prescribed. Like if you have 2 people on the set, this is how lights work. If you have 3, this is where cameras go. If you have everything in editing, in recording, in like everything is a number of SOPs. And when we learned that, then we realized, well, the tech that we have built for ourselves to power bookings, payments, file sharing, everything that we use is something that is IP. And we started getting pings from other studios across the world, which are like, hey, what are you guys using to run all this? Like, you know, managing clients, booking themselves in, rescheduling, scheduling, all these other things. And we were like, yeah, we have our own stuff. Like, it's not Calendly. It's not like we are both tech guys. Like, I have 2 decades at Microsoft. My co-founder is a product guy, UX guy. So we built our own tech stack, and we decided to spin off. And when we spun off the product, we were initially, a few people approached us and say, hey, are you raising money? We can offer, you know, angel investors. And we did that. But for many, we said, hold off. I want to see how it performs. Because I don't feel comfortable. I would have never raised money. Like I was in a corporate, like why raise money? So I was mainly trying to get people that wanted to give me money to back off, because I haven't felt confident that I'll do something with their cash. When the thing started growing at the pace that we now have 100 studios across the world using it, where Stripe has just recently, Stripe Tour in Singapore, they've called us out as the fastest growing, they call it a vertical SaaS, focused on a very, very niche industry. Without even being public in terms of go launch big, we said this is it. Like we got to go all in on the industry. And again, on the back of the product, it's not just the product. What did I say before? Why? How do you not become a commodity?
Community.
Community. So we built a community of over 150 studio owners, which come together to ask each other questions that we here deal with every day. ISO files, how do you upload? Which products do you use to edit? All these things on the back of the community and the growth of the product to run day to day. We are now in a position that like in 2 weeks from now, on 22nd of October, we have this big moment in New York where Stripe is funding and Microsoft's bringing speakers, and we have Gary V's head of content coming as well. Like we have just achieved something that I would say is a moment for the industry, where they all come together to first learn from each other, but then second, learn about how to grow.
I have to say that our first episode, I asked you, how is to build something which is not product? You've been in software and tech industry for years, and you were like preaching, yeah, it's something that I can touch on. It's not a soft, but I knew that your second nature is going into tech, which is good.
When you asked me that in April, I was down. Like product didn't work. It was buggy. It was like, full disclosure, it's recorded. But back then we were actually talking to investors.
Okay.
And there are some that invested in Podster, which asked for products. And we openly told them, hold on. Like we don't know where this is going to go because we had engineering problems. We had, a bunch of things. We didn't even know where the industry is going to head. Because one thing we don't have AI, deep tech, or we're not building robots.
You're gonna have.
Well,
AI,
we will. But the moat now is first mover advantage, deep understanding of the industry. And we know like this industry has 3,000 studios roughly. We know each and every one of them. We have like a name of the person who owns the studio. We can target them directly. So we are probably as far as you can get in terms of connecting with all these companies and in the studio owners. And back then it was kind of clunky. Now, I don't know what happened. At some point, like we got Gotham Studios New York, which is one of the speakers now in New York. We have Move Miami.
I will tell you what happened. You're working very hard, man. It's consistency. You see problems, you evolve, and you create solutions. This is what happened. And you see a pain, and when you create something that market needs, you feel your pain while you're working.
Yeah.
This is the perfect product.
Yeah, I mean that's why we still run
It's
this.
not a magic.
It's not magic. I think the reason why we run this, it helps us keep the pulse on the industry because we know every time there's a pain here, we are thinking, how do I solve it with the tech stack? If I can't do it, then it's okay. Then it's solved with cameras in the room. But if I can put that into the software, I know that others will have the same pain. And then because of the community, what we have now is like all these signals where people are complaining about the same things. This is a pain. This is a pain. This is a problem. We take all of that, we compare, and we say, okay, let's triage. Let's see what else should end up in the roadmap. And that's how it grew. But when you asked me that, when I was like, well, I don't know where this is going to head, I was more concerned if people are going to use it, if it has the right credibility. We were banking on the Podster's credibility as one of the leading studios in the world. But I didn't know if that's enough. What ended up happening is not just Podster, because in the States, people are like Podster, Dubai, Singapore, who cares? But when you have a New York studio, when you have a studio in Miami, and you have like LA, Miami, New York, 3 key studios who are recording celebrities, actors, like all these people, then the smaller one starts to look. And I think it was more because we weren't sure where this is going to head. We just did exactly what you said. Me and my co-founder, on the call with each studio owner, talking through studio problems, not selling them software. So we were like, I remember, start Podster here, 8, 9 a.m. meetings, all this, like Podster related. 5 p.m. onwards, products. And then calls with the States, 11 p.m., 11:30, midnight, and that's these connections, studio to studio owner, that helped. Because if I send a sales guy, they'd be like, you guys are not Calendly, you guys are not Acuity, Square doesn't own you, like you're just a random small startup. Yeah. But because they relate to you, tell them, like asking, what's your biggest problem? They say, oh, when people walk into a room and they haven't indicated how many mics they want. That's a pain. I have the same pain, right? That's why we started solutioning for it, in the software.
So where do you think this is all going to go for you guys? Like, how do you manage studios, software, the community?
Our biggest problem now is too
globalization.
many things. It's like, and I think we're trying to prioritize in terms of what happens when and how, because there are certain things which are powerhouses, like an engine that pulls everything else. And Podster is definitely adding credibility to the story. Podix is something that's scalable and that can scale to, I mean, already 100 studios. We see 500 within 6 months or so, maybe slightly more. We see this as, I mean, you and I talked about venture studios and like venture, like,
Building things,
2 years
yeah.
ago, right? So a lot of times. What we see ourselves is like a mini venture studio, which just operates within this very niche industry, where we have the Pod Spotters, which is the aggregator, already SEO #1 in Paris, #1 in London. So, all the studios can use that to get booked. Like when Podix goes into 500 studios, that clicks together. Pod Heroes, the marketplace for podcasters selling their services, that clicks together as well. So it's like all these things combining become a nuclear weapon, right? The problem that we deal with here is now what's right in front of us and prioritizing on daily basis. What are the 3 things I need to do today? Because there are some things that can be left for like next quarter, the quarter after. What do I need to do today to make all this work? Because there's a sequence. If I jump the sequence, things will start to fall apart. So, and that's our challenge. There's 2 of us. We're running everything together. We have a team of maybe 50, 60 people, which is doing all of this, but spread across. Engineering spread across, running the studio spread across. So I think the focus is going to be like what I said. I wake up tomorrow morning and I focus on the few things that need to be done. Send emails to this, go talk to investors. Like we're still short, maybe 150, 200, I think, for this round. So when we finish
If
that
you want to
raise,
invest,
Yeah, you guys contact us on the emails on the channel.
Michael's
You need to
taking
invest.
what's
Yeah,
it?
I'm taking a
cut.
vig. I'm taking a vig.
the QR
So-
code is not for that.
So when we finish
Yeah.
that, then next year, obviously, the raise is going to take longer time because it's going to be a bigger investor and so on. And that's important for the software side. Like obviously, that's how software businesses are being built. For studios, this is a very lean operation. It's high profits but it's capital intensive. Like building more of this. I told you about Saudi, huge opportunity there to build a bigger thing. There's a lot of different things, but if we end up spread too thin, things are not going to
Could be
happen.
dangerous.
Yeah.
And there's not like this industry doesn't have like crazy competition. There's no Starbucks that's coming after us, like Starbucks for podcasting studios or anywhere on big yet. So it's important for us to make the right choices and the right moves, leverage on the New York and everything that's happening this month, and then take the next year to really solidify the position. Because in Dubai and Singapore, Podster is already the main thing. Like there's nothing else, right? In other markets, if we decide to go with franchising and elsewhere other options, things will grow as well. But it's really how do you play the chess well that you don't lose the opportunity that you currently have.
Exciting.
Okay, how's about time?
Yeah,
My
we need to
time?
get
Yeah,
rolling.
let's move.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Appreciate
when
enabling us.
when you get to Q&A, because Walter's going to be here.
Yeah.
For 2 first questions, we'll give away 2 books from Gary Vaynerchuk, the last one on
it's a good book.
attention economy. They're supporting us in New York, so I thought I spread the
Yeah.
love a bit because we have a few books left from that event that
The
we
Gary
had.
V crew is
Nice.
kind.
All right.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Thank
Borko.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ready? Come on up, Walter.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Thank you. So we're gonna move into round 2 here. Walter, thanks for doing this.
No problem at all. I like your t-shirts. Mine's cooler than yours, but
It is. It is. It's a better color.
is
Because
what it
it's chocolate.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
You know?
it's cool.
We're thinking of doing a round of generalist pink shirts with our blue logo.
I have a pink shirt too. It's a chocolate pink shirt, but
Yeah.
t-shirts are the way to go, man. And t-shirts kind of exude this generalist attitude, right? You're not a suit guy having to be in a suit job, but t-shirts mean you can basically do anything you want to do
I
because
agree.
you're wearing a t-shirt. It's cool.
So let's introduce founder of Sing Life, one of them, right? Which exited, I guess you would say, to Aviva. How does it work? Like a
Yeah, look, we built a
combination?
business called Sing Life. Actually, my background was an insurance guy. I used to run HSBC's insurance businesses in Singapore for years. I came to Singapore in 2000 as an actuary, as an insurance guy for a long time. We built a business called Sing Life or Singapore Life at the time. And we built that from zero to about $4 billion in about 6 years. We started with Singlife. We acquired Aviva
Okay.
just because they were the bigger entity. We arranged a big structure to take private equity and debt and a whole bunch of stuff to assume this business and bring this whole thing together. But we basically built the fifth largest life insurance company in Singapore in about 5 years' time, which was a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun doing that. Yeah.
Impressive. And next, you got out of that, and on your shirt, you started chocolate, which we're going to get to that in a
Sure.
little more depth. But before we do that, one of the things, if you haven't watched our show before, we kind of have a pattern of sorts for the things we try to learn from people and share with people. So even though this is a live show, we're going to still do what we normally do. And we want to just thank Walter for doing this with us and for going live with us. So without further ado, we're going to kind of bump into our normal episode mantra here.
Here we go.
Yeah, so it's not a secret. We are a generalist. And I think you as well. And I want to touch on the point of generalist versus specialist. So just going through your life was actually then insurer, founder. What do you think you bring along this way and say, this is more generalist of me, and why it was so important for you as a builder?
Look, I think anybody that is building a business has to be a generalist by nature. You are, if you're looking after the whole thing, you have to understand all of its components and not just a specific part of it. Now, if you have a specific skill like I had, I was an actuary insurance guy. Yes, that is a foundational tool around which generalist capability can be created, because actually, I know some stuff about insurance, and so I should more or less understand the bigger picture. But you have to have that generalist skill around, okay, well, yes, I understand insurance, but do I actually understand technology? Do I understand marketing? Do I understand the mechanics of people that bring these things together? And so you absolutely have to be a generalist in order to kind of get the bigger picture about how things put together in order to make something successful out of particularly a startup kind of world.
But what is the challenge to be a generalist? Because I felt that sometimes in my life during my career, people say, hey, you know so many things. You're not a specialist in X. But what do you think about these people that are getting these type of feedbacks?
I think that I think we're all starving for information and not even information, but for why are we here in the first place? Like, what is our meaning of life? Why are we on this planet? And what is our ambition to get somewhere? And when we're all dead, what are people going to say about us when we're gone? And so that's a general question. It's the same question for everybody. So how do you kind of navigate through that whole outcome? How do we use the skills that we have to do two things? Number one is actually have a great life while you're here. And number two, do something useful with that life, which actually impacts and helps other people. So in my view around generalism is how do you actually make an impact in a general way, not in a specific way, but use your specific skills to have a general outcome that is in the benefit of the most possible people you possibly can.
And when you think of yourself as a CEO and stuff like that, and you're obviously hiring people and building a team at Singlife and at Chocolate, do you look for generalists and specialists in the kind of rank and file?
No, man, I just look for people that I like hanging out with every day, because you have to wake up, you have to go.
I like that.
Yeah, like these are people you're going to spend your time with, right? This is, in work, this is your other family. So you have a family at home and you have a family in the office, and you have to do family stuff at home, which is half of your life, and you have to do work stuff, which is the other half of your life, and you have to actually enjoy the people that you work with. And so if you're in a job with people that you hate, change jobs, because that's a crappy way to spend half your life. If you're doing something with people that you really like, then you can do all sorts of stuff. And the generalist nature of that is you find people that are complementary to your skills. So I'm really good at, the finance and the producty type stuff, but I'm less good at tech, but I've got a good opinion. I'm less good at marketing, but I have a solid opinion. But you just bring all that stuff together and find a workplace which has got all these generalist people that actually come together to form a common outcome and a common good, which is beneficial to me as a person, beneficial to the business as a community, but also beneficial to the customers who are the users of the products that we create.
So tell us a little bit. You're not from Singapore, obviously. Like, why why did the Singapore thing happen, and why you're on round 2, as I think about, of a chocolate. You're doing it again in Singapore. What's
Yeah, man,
the
I'm
goal
South
there?
African, and like all South Africans, we're trying to leave South Africa. And I was 26 years old, and I told my employer at the time, and I said, look, I want to go overseas. And they said, no, you're actually doing quite a good job in South Africa. We want to keep you. And I said, look, you don't understand. I want to go overseas. Either you send me overseas or I'm going to go overseas. So they said, well, I've got a job for you in Singapore. Do you want to go to Singapore? And I said, well, where's Singapore? And they said, no, it's in Singapore. And oh, that's cool. This was 26 years ago. And I came to Singapore in 2000. And I've loved it ever since. And so Singapore is just my home. I live here. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. My kids are currently serving national service. I have this is it. This is my place. I love everything about Singapore. I like its regulation. I like its capability framework. I like the structure of it all. I like the way Singapore works. I love the weather. I know it's hot and sticky and rainy, but this like really suits me. And so this is how I am. And I got here by hook or by crook, but this is where I'm going to be.
So the good advertisement. We didn't pay for that advertisement, by the way. So yeah.
Going back to what made you who you are and how you going through your career, because different domains, insurer and then a founder, and I guess there is maybe one skill that you carry with you and say this is the one, or maybe two, that always assist me to succeed with what I'm doing. What was it?
I'd turn it completely the other way around. Like, we've all got skills that we've picked up along the way. So you'll start off somewhere, you've got a degree or a first job or a certain set of skills that you picked up. But actually kind of get to a point in life where it's not so much about the skills that you have, but actually what do you want to do with your life? And that is about what makes you happy. What makes you feel like you've actually done something useful with the time that you have on earth. And for me, there was 2 key things. I want to wake up every day and say, yay, I'm going to work today. That yay, I love my life and what I do. I love working and doing and being where I am. That it's not just the work that I'm doing, but it's the people that I'm working with, and the time that I spend in the office, the time that I spend at home with the family, and the time that I'm spending doing sports and fitness and whatever else that I'm doing. That I love my life. That's point number 1. The point number 2 is actually, what is the impact that I'm having on the world around me? And in my Sing Life days, it was, how do I create or solve a problem which existed and do it in a better way than anybody else had done it before? And that was around, in that time, it was insurance. Insurance was my thing, and insurance sucked. And so I was going to build a better kind of insurance. And so we built a better one, and it worked really, really well. Now with chocolate, it's around this whole idea that everybody has got money sitting in a bank account doing nothing. Like everybody, you and me and everybody in the audience, we've all got money in the bank account doing nothing. And how can I solve for that problem? How can I give people a little bit more in a safe, regulated, well-constructed way so that you can actually have a better life, have a richer life, have 2 extra cups of coffee in a week just because you can, right? And I'm actually solving a real problem for people. And the fact that I'm loving my life, working with people that I love working with, enjoying every day and solving problems, but actually having a real impact on people to actually make their lives richer or make their lives better, that makes me super happy. So it's not necessarily about my skill. It's about how can I apply whatever skill I have to the outcome that I want to generate, which is a happier life for me and a better outcome for the people around me.
But I think that the skill of asking questions, what suck, it's a skill. Not everybody asks, what suck, what is not good. And I think this is what I'm taking. Yeah, you carry, I know how to ask questions. I think I know how to ask questions. That's creating success. That's creating something that I carry with me. Do you feel that you know how to ask the relevant questions?
Look, I think usually is if I have a pain point, then other people have the same pain point as well. So I had a pain point around, what do I do with my cash? What do I do with my investment? So therefore, if that's a problem for me, it's for the same problem for other people. So let me, instead of trying to figure out what other people are what the problems are in their lives, what are the problems in my life? Because I assume if I have those problems, then other people have those same problems as well. And when you actually analyze that, you actually realize that's absolutely true, right? If you can make your own life better and provide solutions for that, you can make other people's lives better as well. That's the outcome.
So in this banking thing, I'm assuming everybody here has a Singapore bank account with a Singapore bank, right? The whole notion of like, oh, if you deposit your money on a Wednesday, and you do 2 steps backwards, and maybe you use your ATM on a Thursday, we might give you extra interest this month. You know which game we're talking about, right? And it's just comical, right? And
Yeah.
coming from American places, I always have just baffled at this and the way mortgage interest works. Why is it this way here? And how do you kind of envision competing with that,
Yeah.
knowing that it's such a kind of funky setup, if that's the word?
Yeah, spot on, right? I mean, I think, as time goes by, all of these financial institutions have had to compete with each other in some funky way to kind of differentiate themselves. So if you stand on one leg, hold your nose, put your money in on a Wednesday, you might actually get something. My current favorite thing is the bank. So you can earn 4%, but you can actually only earn it on your money between $100,000 and $105,000, and everything else earns nothing, right? So it's
But you can't withdraw on Tuesday either.
exactly. But so
that'll
there's a
mess
lot
it
of
up.
hoops.
Yeah.
So part of the things what we were doing with chocolate is to say, actually, let's just try and cut through all that nonsense and just to say, well, actually, let's start from the bottom up. We give you 2.5% return on your cash up to 20,000 and 2.2% up to 50,000 above that. And no hoops. Like, you don't have to have a salary credit or a spend on your credit card. You don't have to stand on one leg or put it in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. You just put it in and you get it. And it's not only that, you actually see those returns every single day. And we thought, well, actually, with all of this nonsense and fluff and competition and bullshit, that comes from a bank-like marketing, we can just do the right thing for customers and actually just do something that is what it says on the box and delivers what it is supposed to deliver, which is a better yield for customers, is what we're trying to build.
If you look on your user, on your consumer, is it Michael? Is it me? Is it Nicole?
Look, it's everybody with a wallet. Everybody that has a bank account is a potential customer. We have 100,000 customers in Singapore. We have over $1 billion of assets in the platform. Our business has grown phenomenally well because we are addressing a real need. Customers really do have cash in the bank that's doing nothing. There's $1 trillion of cash sitting in bank accounts in Singapore doing not very much. We just want to help a little bit of that to just do a little bit more and help people along the way with that cash.
So you just mentioned the AUM number. Let's kind of rewind a little bit because I think this is an interesting story. You guys had a crisis. I'm just going to use the label crisis. At a certain point, what happened as a CEO from your point of view? Because a lot of people probably don't know your take on it and
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
how have you come through that and where are you today after it?
Sure. Look, so Chocolate Finance really challenged the world around how money works and how we can do better things for customers. We grew from $0 to $1 billion+ in about 7 months, very, very quickly. And we thought, actually, we're so good at helping people with their cash. Let's also help people with their spend as well. How can we give people a better rewards program on cards and spending, and potentially help customers who are spending, help them also with their cash savings, and help customers who are saving, help them with their spend. And so we got really aggressive in trying to, how do we help people to spend money and earn rewards from that? Yes, we overstretched a little bit on that, to be honest. We offered rewards which weren't really sustainable, and we pulled that back. And as a result of pulling those rewards back, a couple of people were not happy with that and kind of were vocal about that, and which then triggered a mechanism around a certain level of sentiment. Now, what we had done with the business was, we're an asset management business which delivers returns based on an asset management portfolio, and we had a certain amount of ability to do instant withdrawals. Now, when we had an outflow, we had to curb that as well, which gave a certain pause to how that worked. Now, that was an event in our world, and people said, oh, just take note, money is not always instantly withdrawable, but actually the money is still delivering a fantastic return. It's still safe as houses, still grows. So yes, we had a bump in the road as you grow on this fantastic growth trajectory. But now it's all back. Customers have come back, and it's all carrying on, and we're delivering on the promises, which is to deliver people a better return on their cash. And that's continuing on as we go from strength to strength in our purpose. So all businesses in their early phase go through a couple of learnings. This was one of them for us, but this is the things that's going to get us on and propel us on to the next as we go.
Exciting.
Do you feel that like sometimes I'm a cybersecurity guy? Yeah, it's not something that I can hide. And yeah, I've been in many different type of situations. But when I look back, I don't know if it's happened to you. When I look back, I said, sometimes I'm happy that it happened because I study a lot from that, and it's grew me. Did you have that feeling?
Yeah, of course. Look, we grew so fast as an organization that actually you have to sometimes take some stock to just kind of, just check, and so that you can make sure that everything's going in the right direction so that you can keep growing as fast as you can. We are regulated by the MAS. My CTO is in the room over here. We were able to process massive amounts of data and products and withdrawals and subscriptions in a fully automated, executed way. Technology is core to everything that we've done, and it all works brilliantly, right? And so, yes, sometimes you have these pauses where you restock and just check. Actually, this live test of our systems actually has demonstrated that it actually works like we said it was going to work, and we're now set for world domination. We're just taking the core of what we've done now in Singapore and using that franchise capability ecosystem, knowing that we can actually deliver for customers a better return, and I'll take that proposition and put it into new markets as we continue to grow our proposition. We're actually only a year and a bit old as a company. And I think for what we are as a business and how fast we've grown and all the learnings we've had along the way, I think the sky is the limit for what we're trying to do, because we're actually challenging banks to be an alternative place for money, and we're winning. So I'm super cool and
Which
super
I think
happy.
it's beautiful. Yeah, disruption is like that, the way of doing new things, and I'm sure part of that is AI. And you use it in your technology, and maybe it's the nature of the company, and I'm sure that it changed the way you run the company.
Look, AI is now in today's world permeable into everything that everybody does, right? And so whether it's customer service kind of querying or organization of data, or just making systems just work faster and more responsive, is all cool. I think AI to replace people is not a thing in my view yet. I think, yes, it helps people enhance their business, make them go faster. So we can actually run a much more efficient business with all of these AI-related tools. But AI is not replacing everything or anything at the moment in our world. But it is intrinsic to making sure that the capability frameworks that we do is running more efficiently than if there was no such tools available. So very happy with the progress on these things.
Where do you feel that it saves time, like in customer journeys, like backend?
In all sorts of
delivery?
places, right? So customer service queries, how do you extract data from different places and be able to present that data in a consistent way? How do you formulate language around helping your customer service people to respond to customers in a correct and transparent and tangible way? How do you get corporate governance in a way which is working consistently? If you have to do, like in regulated businesses, right, the amount of governance that's in place is huge.
Yeah.
How do you regulate the organization within your own governance framework without holding 20,000 people to kind of, check everybody? You can use AI ecosystem languages to kind of make sure that the right things are done at the right points in time, that certain things are getting checked at the right framework, so that you can just be more efficient as an organization as you grow. These are solutions, the general solutions, not just a chocolate finance solution. This is every business needs these kinds of tools to help them go faster, more streamlined, with less people, just to grease the machine. It's oil is what AI is. It's not a new person. It's grease.
So we have kind of a tradition on the show of discussing the ecosystem, so to speak, but also being candid and realist about it, but also wanting to kind of talk about some positivity. You started seeing life here.
Mhm.
You started chocolate finance here. If you read LinkedIn and you read what the media is saying, it's funding is down, there's fraud, there's not a lot of exits, the VCs are struggling. There's a whole narrative you can decide to click on, but yet you're like, hey, I've done it once, I'm doing it again, I'm staying put. It's your headquarter again for what's going to become, a multi-country business. What's your spin on the ecosystem and your take?
Yeah, so starting on Singapore, Singapore is the coolest place in the world. And if you can be successful in Singapore, you can generally be successful in other places, because Singapore is hard. You've got hard regulation. You've got critical customers, as you've seen. Like, you make one false move and they, take it out. If you can be successful in Singapore, you can generally take that experience and learn anywhere. So I'm super number one on that. To your second point around capital and funding and VCs and stuff, you're absolutely right. what you've seen in Southeast Asia is actually a lack of exits. I mean, my Singlife was one of the few that actually was an exit, which is rare, and lucky for me that happened. But it is tough out there to get new funding, and it's tough to find the logical next steps. But this is kind of true for other places as well. The same lack of exits exists in the US as well. You know, there's more of them, there's more startups and more businesses, and so you do get more exits. But is it proportionately more? I don't know. I think there is massive pressure on VCs for returns. I think a lot of VCs had deployed money a long time ago, and the fact that they haven't been able to exit those things has led to problems and a difficulty to raise new capital. And the difficulty to raise new capital means it's difficult to deploy new capital. And so the cycle of the ecosystem struggles when there's no fresh capital coming in, although there is a lot of capital out there. I think we're also seeing a position now where public markets have done phenomenally well. So, why invest in startups when the public markets are up 20, 30, 40, 50% on a year? So all of these factors are kind of affecting the startup landscape. You've also had a problem where you have, 5 years ago, you had, 5 startups in a particular field. Now you have 100 startups in the same field. So how does capital get deployed to those same pieces? Yes, you are still seeing more and more capital being deployed year on year by VCs, but it's now spread amongst a much larger number of startups, which means that valuations per startup goes down, ticket sizes is down, and failure rates is much, much higher as well. So it's tough out there. It really is.
So, as a person that have a huge passion for Singapore and also entrepreneur in your soul, and maybe someone is watching us right now as a builder, Gen Z founder, he or she or it, and say, hey, I want to be Walter. What's your recommendation on that?
Just wake up in the morning and do what you really want to do, right? If you wake up in the morning and hate your life, then just do something else. If you are in a regulated world, like financial services, recommendation is to work for a regulated entity for a couple of years before you try and be regulated, because there's so much skill you need to understand and navigate all that regulatory stuff that trying to do it without all of that is going to get you into problems later on. Be hungry, right? No one is going to help you in this world. You just got to go out and get it, right? You just got to push and hard and hustle and smash it out there and follow your passion but ask yourself in the morning, every single morning, just look yourself in the mirror and say, do I love my life? And if you can't say I love my life, then do something else, because it's hard. And the only way you can get through all of the stuff that we do as founders is if you wake up in the morning and say, I love what I do. It makes me super happy to be doing this. I know it's hard, but that hardness and challenge is energizing to me. I have support from my family and the people around me to deliver this thing, this goal, this big audacious thing that I'm trying to do. I love this thing and I'm going to keep going. And if you can't answer that continuously all the time, you'll have a tough time going forward. But if you can, you'll have a wonderful, wonderful life.
Amazing.
Exciting.
Last thing, just before we go to our closures. How do you see Chocolate Finance future? Tell us, give us your crystal.
Yeah, look, world domination comes to mind.
Which is I'm favorite of, by the way.
No, look, I just want to wake up in the morning, like I said, and have and enjoy what I'm doing. So we build the biggest, coolest piece of equipment that we can. And my view is if you've seen the baseball movie with if you build it, they will come. Just build something really cool that actually is solving a real problem for real people. That'll work, and you can expand that business. What do I want for Chocolate Finance? I just want to give people a better financial services offering. Right? We've started with cash. Cash works really well. It's a very simple thing. Do you want 2.5% return on your cash? Yes or no? Very simple choice. Yes, I want it. Therefore, download, click. 2 minutes later, money's working hard, right? We do that now in Singapore. We will do that in other geographies. The next question is, okay, do we move from cash to longer term stuff, right? I think that there are millions of people out there that really struggle with finances, that really do not know what to do not know where or scared or about where to put their money because they just don't know and they don't trust. How can you build a product which is actually not a stupid idea, low fees, long term? Yes, my cash is working well for me, but actually I need to think about my longer term retirement. What am I doing with that money? And I don't want to be thinking about Tesla and Apple and gold and crypto and all that other stuff. I don't want to think about, is my advisor ripping me off? I just want to have something that's not a stupid idea and a nice place to put it and think about it cool, right? And I think there's a place for us to grow in the next phase. But time will tell. We're still helping a lot of people with their cash at the moment, and I think that's growing very well, and we'll see how it all goes.
Awesome.
Amazing.
It's fantastic. Right. So we asked this question of everybody, and we've kind of, the podcast has evolved in our learning, and we've had some guests give us some pretty critical feedback, which has been interesting for us. So we've switched this question around to be more of like, if you were talking to a 20-year-old, any of them, what's a life tenet you would want them to believe from you without questioning it?
And it's different. Like 20-year-olds today are very different from 20-year-olds when I was 20-year-old. And I have a 19-year-old son who's currently doing national service here. And these are the questions.
He's a cool dude. I met him.
Yeah, he's a cool
very
dude.
cool
Yeah, he's a
dude.
cool dude.
Yeah.
But actually, the same thing I tell him is the thing that I tell everybody else is build something. Like just do something that's useful. I don't know, like Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff is all super dopamine cool. But actually, if you've got some spare time, just build something. Build an N8N agent. Build a stupid phone app. Just build something and do something. Like play with Lego. We used to play with Lego when we were little. And nowadays, you should be playing with tech and apps and stuff. So build something. That's different from learn something. Because learning something, you have to go to university and you have to go to school. And that's like plain vanilla. It's just like hygiene. You have to do that. But you don't have to build something. But if I'm giving you some advice, build something because you can take these learnings and things and actually learn from building, and it'll make you a better person and more capable and more generalist as you move to the next phase of your life. Yeah.
Cool. So CEO, lots of passion, builder. What do you do for your physical and mental health?
I ride a bicycle a lot. I play touch rugby. I play golf. So my current thing at the moment is I've signed up for a big bike race in Vancouver in May next year.
Wow.
So I'm trying to put in some hours on the mountain bike to stay relatively in shape because I'm one of these like all or nothing people. If I don't put a big goal in front of me, then I don't have the willpower to kind of aim for it. And so if I put something really big there, then I can actually strive for it, and that then kind of gives me a motivation, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. Just try and balance, right? It's a work, family, and a bit of sport on the side. Try to keep it as well-rounded as you can, but spend time with the family is a really important thing for balance and personal well-being. Yeah.
Great. Share anything you're reading, watching, podcasting, listen to that you find useful.
Which is
Yeah,
not
my
u-
wife
which
gives-
is not us. Yeah,
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah,
our
not you guys.
podcast, yeah.
Other than you guys.
Yeah.
Other than you, yeah.
My wife gives me a hard time because I never read a novel, and I say, "Well, I read stuff all the time, so I'm so busy." Who have I been following of late? I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan. In fact, the whole chocolate finance brand actually came from one of his pieces of work called The Infinite Game, around how do you create a positive emotional relationship with the people around you for an infinite happiness. And so the chocolate finance brand was stemmed from how do I create a happy place for money? How do I create positive emotion and build brand around it? So Simon Sinek, I really value the guy. I think his insights are really good. And the second guy I follow a lot is Scott Galloway. I mean, it was mentioned that earlier. I think that guy is super smart. I think the reality of the world now is very different. Some of his insights are inspirational about the future evolution of consumer behavior. In my days, my parents told me, you get a degree, you work as hard as you can, you save for a bit later, and then you can have a nice life later on, right? But actually, what I'm seeing in today's world is that people that actually have followed that advice, that are in their late 20s, early 30s, have got a degree, worked hard, and try to save as much as they can, and actually they're worse off than their parents were at the same point. Their houses are still out of reach, as are cars. And so the whole, what I've been told is a good idea is not necessarily paid, worked
paid
its way
off,
out.
yeah.
And I know Scott Galloway has pushed a lot of those thoughts, and I really believe it. I think the youth or the young people coming through the ecosystem need something new and fresh, and chocolate is hopefully going to try and help people to get a little bit more richness out of those life moments to the best of what we can possibly do, given how messed up the world is today.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's great. We want to end shortly, but let's have a couple questions if anybody has any to ask. Hopefully we have a couple. You guys are ready?
Thanks to the host, and thanks, Walter, for the insights. So obviously, Singlife was a huge success. So you must be reapplying a good part of the playbook to chocolate finance. But I wanted to know which parts are you doing differently in chocolate than in Singlife, whether in terms of growth or organization, if any.
Yeah, look, I think Singlife, when I did Singlife, I was actually coming out of a big corporate organization. I used to work for a big bank, insurance part of a bank before that. And so you take a big corporate view of life as you start a new business. Moving from Singlife to chocolate, you actually realize that those old ways of thinking are less important, and you're actually much, much more worried about the future rather than the stakeholders. So you can build with much smaller teams, much more aggression, and much more confidence of the future. The other thing with Singlife, obviously, was we started with, nothing, and we had no choice. Failure was not an option, because if you fail, it's all gone. But actually, having gone through the Singlife story and realized that actually you've learned a bunch of stuff, you can actually, with chocolate, take a lot of those learnings and be a little bit more aggressive around how you address the problems and push it a bit harder. Yes, in chocolate's face, we did push it a bit harder than what we should have possibly on growth. But it's the release and enablement of being your own master is one of the bigger differences. Yeah.
Got it. Good one.
Mind if I go? How's it, as they say in South Africa?
How's
Very curious, second-time founder, obviously on a good wicket. I'm curious, I'm sure you had a couple of other ideas worth pursuing. Was there a choice you had, or you felt this was actually the right time for chocolate? What did you leave aside to pursue what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, look, I think the choice was either chocolate or sit on my ass and do nothing. And but the reality is that chocolates came from an idea which we started at Singlife. And then Singlife, we actually, it's a distribution business. Insurance is one of those things you have to distribute, right? You can't, it's like a car. You can have a beautiful car, but if you've got no petrol in it, it's not going to go anywhere. So every business is about how many customers you can bring on board and how you can sell it. And so in an insurance context, the best way to sell insurance is, yes, you've got agency and advisors and direct, but there's a really big part of insurance is you sell through banks or bank assurance. And we were Singlife, we weren't big enough to be able to go and spend $1 billion on a DBS bank assurance deal. So I thought, well, screw it, let's just build a bank. Let's just build an insurance policy which actually looks like a bank. Works like a bank. You can put money in any time, take money out any time, give you an interest or crediting rate on top of it, build a phone app and a debit card, and build a neobank or something that's not a bank but competes with banks for deposits. And that worked really, really well in Singlife. The problem that I had in Singlife was there was an on-balance sheet product, right? Which means that if you give your money to a bank or a Singlife, it's actually you're giving it to them, right? It's like on their balance sheet. And if Singlife goes, then your money's gone, right? And that's why banks and insurance companies have to hold a huge amount of capital. And so what I thought was when I was leaving, and I thought there's still the same fundamental problem. People are not getting a great return on their cash. Can I do it in a way which is better? If I'm having to hold a huge amount of capital on a balance sheet, I'm actually reducing the returns I can give to customers because capital actually absorbs or costs money to hold. And so with chocolate, you thought, well, actually, can I do a 2.0, 3.0 version of this cash optimization engine? But instead of putting it on my balance sheet, I put it in a separately segregated, ring-fenced, custodized, safe account, right? And manage it in the same way as I would have done it with Singlife, in a way which is going to optimize returns without the drag of capital and the bank balance sheets like restrictions. And so we can just accelerate and grow that and scale it infinitely without these kind of mechanics. So I was passionate about that particular use case. And so I thought, well, actually, I've done it once, 1.0 Singlife. Now I'm doing a better version of it. 2.0, and it's working way better than what I thought it was going to. But sometimes I do think maybe I should have spent my time playing golf and sitting on a beach.
In Sentosa.
Yeah.
I think we have a few more. Yeah.
Anyone want to?
Yeah.
When taking chocolate finance to market, what was the most unexpected or surprising learning? Could be both negative or positive.
Look, when you bring any product to market, particularly a retail brand, you realize there's a couple of things. Number one is people don't activate or buy the first time they hear your message. People need a number of different touch points before they activate. And those touch points need to be in multiple different places. So when we launched Chocolate Finance, we made a very, very big decision around going big, right? We did a really big activation of chocolate. We did subway wraps and buses and taxis and billboards and the whole lot. We did on top of that, you've got a huge amount of Google and Facebook and Instagram activation, all of these things together, and press and articles and blogs and influencers, put all this stuff together. And what happens is that if you can get your point of view into multiple touch points, your credibility stake goes up because people are seeing you in different contexts. But actually, the number one activation of Chocolate Finance distribution was people that were customers that referred their friends because they were happy with the product. They had a great experience of what they were seeing. They loved seeing their daily returns. They got what they said on the box, and they went home and said, "This is a cool thing. You should sign up to." In fact, for every one customer that we got from self-activated or marketed, we got about 1.8 customers. So it's almost 2 to 1.
Wow.
1.8 customers from referrals, just because people were happy with the product, they told other people.
That's big. One more?
Me?
Yeah, go. Yeah, Nicole?
Thank you very much for this open and candid conversation. I can honestly say, as of today, I love my life. So,
Me too.
Thank you very much for that. I have two questions. I think the first one is, what struck me the most when I saw Chocolate Finance was it's all over the subway. And the first thing that came to my mind was, how do you compete with Endowus and Saif that already has a very big market share in Singapore? So that would be my first question.
Well, I'm not competing with Endowus and stuff. I'm competing with DBS and OCBC and those guys, right? Those guys have got $1 trillion of cash. Saif and those is like, I was on a panel with Dhruv at Saif yesterday, and we like having a couple of coffee afterwards. And he's saying, well, we are both the rats at the bottom of the table trying to scrape up the bottom of whatever's the banks are leaving on the table. So actually, no, those guys are my friends, right? My ambition is everybody that's got money in a bank account doing nothing, I can deliver hopefully something better for them than what they're currently getting. The world is changing. If you talk about McKinsey reports, and there's a lot of data which is showing that wealth is actually flowing out of banks into products like Saif, Endowus, chocolate as we go, because these are the new ways of thinking, right? It's why banks have been doing what banks have been doing for 200 years. This is old. Why drive in an Volkswagen when you can drive a Ferrari? The world is becoming a better place, and so this wealth is flowing into our ecosystems. That's why I'm doing well. That's why Saif's doing well. That's why Endowus is doing well, because these are good offerings which are alternative to what people have been exposed to in the past.
Another thing that fascinated me was how you actually grew to 1 billion in 7 months, because it's not easy. And one big thing in the finance industry, is trust. So how do you actually build trust with consumers and clients and compete with banks like DBS or whatever and the likes that have already a lot of trust?
Look, it's hard, right? And we are very fortunate. Singapore is a great place, regulated by MAS. The regulation here actually inspires a bit of trust. So you get that piece. I was very fortunate to having come from a business which was successful at Singlife and then building something new, and that also added a bit of trust. I think big and bold adds trust. I think if you're just a corner shop doing something really, really small, it's quite difficult to have trust. But if you have a name on a building, that actually inspires trust. If you have customers talking about you, that inspires trust. And all of those ingredients come together. I think Singapore is also a place where people are a little bit more open to try new things, which is quite different from other markets. I think people, for chocolate doesn't want all of your money. We just want some of it, right? So, people will still keep their accounts with those big banks where you still need to have your pay now and your stuff. But we'll just put a little bit to chocolate because, we'll try it. And then what happens is actually it works. Chocolate delivers the returns, and we've been doing it consistently at a significantly better rate than what people have been able to get from their bank accounts. And that, constant delivery has inspired more trust. And as we go, yes, we've had a couple of hiccups along the way, a couple of learnings, but that's all now in our learning journey, and we've moved beyond that. And, we're in the new phase of world domination and taking over the world.
Fantastic.
Anybody
Any
else?
last question from anybody?
I actually have one last question. How do you actually make money if you can give people 2 to 2.5%?
Yeah, so we basically take spread. So we take customers' money, we invest it, and then we are on the hook to deliver a 2.5% return. But if we outperform that, then we take a spread on how that money works. So unlike other companies, which basically take a 15 or a 20 or a 80 basis points on your money. So that's another thing in this industry, right? No one actually talks about their fees. They can earn this much money, but they don't tell you how much fee they're taking. We don't have any fee, right? If we don't earn the returns that you're going to make, we don't eat at all, right? So that's how confident we are in our ability to generate returns, is that we only make money after customers have made money. So that's how our whole business operates, and that's why we think we can inspire more trust. And actually, we've been able to deliver better returns because we're making money because it's delivering better returns to customers. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome. We will end so that we can let people go. The bar will be open for a while, and hopefully we can hang out and chat with people. Walter, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm happy to be here. Sorry it's taken a long time, and I've got a lot to say.
Yeah, it's fun. It's worked out great.
It's fun.
Borko, thank you as well.
Thank
And,
you, Borko.
if we
Thank
have
you,
people on
everyone.
the stream, thank you. And we appreciate the turnout. All right. As we do with Naz, cut. Thanks, everybody.